QI, where tonight we're doing the knowledge. Please welcome the well-educated Jimmy Carr. The well-informed Joe Brand. The well-read Graham Linehan. And the, well, you know, it's Alan Davies. And if you want to call me, you know what to do. Jimmy goes... Knowing me, knowing you. Graham goes... They don't know about us. Joe goes... I know him so well. And Alan goes... There's a spelling issue there. I know what you want to know. Once and for all, how many moons does the Earth have?
Nobody knows. We're not doing that this year.
No, we're not.
3.
Oh, what a pity. What a pity.
1. Just because it's called the moon doesn't mean it's the only one, it turns out.
The moons, it would be called.
You're not doing yourself any favours early doors. 2. Oh!
This could go on. It could.
So let me stop you right here. The point is, very, very early on in the A series, we said there were 2.
Are you taking that back?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Ah, this is...
I rely on this show. This is all I know.
This is the whole point of this round, in fact. Facts are not permanent. We thought there were 2, and then we said, oh, no, it's either 1 or 5, we said, in the B series, because we were acting on the latest info that we had from the scientific community. And this has changed. Now, NASA describes them as mini-moons, but we have about 18,000 moons.
I thought it was the same moon.
Bits of it, you mean?
No, I thought the ones that we keep seeing was the same one over and over again. That was wrong.
No. You're talking about the mini-moons. There was, like, 1 extra mini-moon.
No.
Or just that...
Can I just say, if there's so many, why haven't we noticed them before?
Well, the reason is that they are actually tiny. It's only recently they've run computer simulations to show 18,000. One of those has been observed, has been given the exciting name RH120, which orbited the Earth 4 orbits in 2006 and 7. Then also known as temporally captured objects. They're captured into an Earth orbit, perhaps for a short amount of time. But as satellites of the Earth, non-man-made, they are moons. That's what a moon is.
But the man-made satellites are satellites, right?
Yes, they are, but to be a moon, you have to be a celestial body rather than what you know.
Well,
you
that
could
makes
count
me a moon, then.
Yes, exactly. You are. Precisely. And you orbit my life,
You have to be in orbit for at least 5 years before you can claim benefits.
But the quite interesting thing about this is the point that raised Jimmy Carr's tremendous eyebrows earlier, which is that facts don't remain stable. Things we know or think we know will be untrue. Very good. Will be untrue in a number of years' time.
Yes. Appropriately, you look a bit like
do a
Patrick
Mexican
Moore.
wave.
Yes, you do.
We just don't know.
So I did a course at university called...
Shut up.
I bloody did,
Yeah.
and it was called The Sociology of Science, and yes, I got a grant for it, because it was a complete waste of time. But what I learnt during that course is there's no such thing as a fact.
Yes, this is precisely our point. Indeed, at medical colleges, they usually teach that half of what the medical students are going to learn will be considered untrue in about 10 or 20 years. And this is known by academics as the half-life of facts. That's to say, you know that half of it will be untrue. Unfortunately, you don't know exactly which half. And on QI, an estimated 7% of the things I tell you this evening will be shown to be untrue in a year's time. And if you're watching a very old repeat on Dave, a much bigger proportion.
It's probably untrue now.
It's probably the whole... Even what I'm saying now is untrue. I'm not even saying it.
I'm not on the show.
We actually have a chart showing the rate of decay of QI facts. And you can see there's a series A on the right, and plotted against it is the 10th series, J.
J.
And so, as you can see, the further you get away, greater the number of
60%
untruths.
of things in the first
Yes,
series
are now untrue.
bollocks.
If that's true, yes. That's
And we do talk a lot of bollocks, in fairness.
But the most important thing you'll be excited to know is that that means over the years, cumulatively, you must be owed a lot of points. And going according to this theory, things we have said are wrong, a proportion of them are likely to have been right. Therefore, we have actually calculated how many points we owe you.
Suddenly, this has gone brilliantly. Suddenly, this is mine.
Yeah.
Well, Alan
Jimmy?
is going to be way out in front, isn't he?
Jimmy, we owe you 43.58 points. Joe, 84.73.
Can I use them in Sainsbury's?
I'm giving you permission. If you work at Sainsbury's and she tries to claim them, yes, you can. The audience are owed 23.24. Well done. You haven't done anything. Alan, you are owed 737.66.
Are those transferable? If I went on to have I got news for you? Could I use?
Yes.
Could I write and go, I've got 24 points that I could use
You can
here.
take this. Yes.
I could just
Use
Oh,
them.
no, fabulous.
Yeah. Ian.
Mastermind, can I have it on mastermind?
I don't think you can slip that in somewhere.
Someone's going to have to answer a lot of questions to beat that.
Of course, unfortunately, Graham, you get nothing.
Yes. Yeah. No.
That's really unfair. You're playing it a first time and you get a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. Well, you needn't have pointed it out.
I'll try and find a way to make it up to you in some way by giving you a random 600 points. I'll give you some examples of facts that we gave in good faith on QI. So in the I series, we said nobody knows how to tell the age of a lobster.
Wow.
Well, that was only a few years ago, but since then, Canadian scientists have discovered the way you do, that if you dissect their eye stalks and count the rings, you know how old they are. That's not a very kind thing to do.
You know how old they were.
I think that's
There's a
reasonable
flaw in
point.
this plan. I still think you should ask them first. I said their eye stalk.
Another one was in the G series. We said giraffes' necks may have evolved for fighting each other, which was commonly held by quite a few zoologists. But it now seems this hypothesis is not believed. And in
They
the A
used to
series...
like wading across deep rivers.
Yes, that was giving their necks above. Very, very deep.
As the river got higher,
Yeah.
they evolved. That might prove to be correct.
It might, you see. Who am I to say it isn't? In the A series, we said that the best endowed millipede had 710 legs. Soon afterwards, a millipede with 750 turned up, but that's still the greatest number we know. But
Is there someone checking them?
Yes.
I like the idea of counting a millipede's legs. You would lose. You'd have to keep going back.
Yes, you would, exactly.
1, 2.
It's the same thing.
That many times.
It's the same thing with all these things. Before they count the legs, they kill it.
Yeah.
So the legs are very still. Pluck them off. 1,
She lets me.
3. It might still be alive. They might think it was dead, and then they just hear it go, ah!
You know, that's an interesting fact. That's how they. It's how they make worms.
True story. Brilliant.
Hey, a worm would come along. Are you not doing anything with these legs? You counted them off the millipede. Can I have 4?
A whole new species is born.
Yeah. And that is how sausage jobs are made.
Jackson's, exactly. We've discovered a lot of new science here, none of which is likely to be disproved, or possibly may come round again to be proved. Now, what did the inventor of the thermometer spend 30 years measuring?
I'm going to say temperature, OK?
You know what, Alan? You've got points to burn.
Sometimes it's right, you know, sometimes it is true. It is.
Exactly.
I know a joke about thermometers, about nurses and thermometers. It's about a rectal thermometer.
Go on.
Well, it's just a nurse finds a rectal thermometer in her pocket and goes, "Oh, some arsehole's got my pen."
It's an old joke.
Very fine.
One very old nurse's joke that we said was that a nurse comes running in and says to the matron, "Oh dear, I think I've got something the wrong way round. You asked me to prick someone's boil."
Very good.
I do know quite an interesting fact about thermometers. The difference between an oral and rectal thermometer.
I hope you do know the difference.
Yeah. Taste.
His name was Sanctorius Sanctorius, at least that was his Latinised name. He was from Padua, and there you can see him.
Right.
He's weighing himself. That's a special
weighing
balance he had
himself?
created. Every single day he'd weigh himself and the food he ate, and indeed the faeces and urine that he expelled, he excreted.
Was it some sort of weird Weight Watchers thing?
Well, what he discovered is that his urine and faeces weighed only a fraction of what he'd eaten and drunk, but despite that, he stayed the same weight, which is amazing, he thought. He thought, why is it I put in, say, 100 pounds of food, but I poo out only 30 pounds of faeces?
30 years, does it not work out that there's a fuel thing?
It is easy to look back at past generations and say, how can you not have known? But, of course, none of them knew. And really, before people like him, who's almost one of the world's first scientists,
but
they hadn't measured and calibrated things.
You're absolutely right about all of those things.
Well, as right as we know.
However,
Yeah.
30 years? I mean, really, after 3 years with the
Oh,
same...
no, he had a theory, but his theory was wrong, that's all. His theory was that the rest came out of your skin, so it's very dangerous to cover most of your skin because you wouldn't let the poison out. He knew that faeces was poisonous, at least toxic and bad for you. With smell is a big warning, obviously.
Sorry, your faeces smell.
Parma violets. Yeah.
Jimmy's making noise.
Point at it.
It emits a totally different... So it's very unusual. It's 1 in a million people who have noisy shit.
Very good. He co-invented with his fellow at Padua, a much better-known scientist. Who would that be in the same period?
Co-invented.
Da
His
Vinci.
co-inventor. Not Da Vinci, no.
Is he going to be
Marconi.
centigrade or...
It won't be future, it will be past, whatever it
Galileo.
is. Galileo is the right answer.
Oh, I nearly said
I was going to say Scaramouche or Fandango.
Galileo Galilei. He
could do the fandango!
Yes, he could, darling. That's right.
Thunderbolt Lightning!
Please,
Very, very frightening!
stop.
That's what one of Jimmy's poo sounds like.
No.
Galileo, Galileo!
No,
You're right in there,
either.
Jimmy!
In a minute, I'm reading a very interesting article.
Faeces is made up, is 70% liquid. 30% solid. It just takes a bit of separating out. Not that I would urge you to do it when you get home.
When I get home, why wait?
I don't know, centrifuge in my dressing room.
Anyway, what can you find out by hiding under a student's bed? Yes, Joe.
I've got to go for this. Is it a massive part of porn mags?
That's probably true.
Oh, I thought that was
Those
going
are
to
the
go
days.
off.
No, I think it's highly...
I think now you've got the internet.
I'm afraid, yeah, you wouldn't,
Broadband are doing a terrific job. Terrific.
I think that's a bit sad, though, in a way.
It's not, yeah, they
for
would...
mags.
Not for men.
No, not personally.
Yeah, they did this in the 1930s. It was extremely unethical, but we're in pursuit of knowledge, which is our theme today.
So they were researchers.
They were researching, and the only way to find out what people are saying without knowing they're being overheard was to hide somewhere and take notes while they were talking. And they wanted to know what sort of things students spoke about.
So they used to hide underneath the beds?
Yeah, and take notes.
It sounds to me, Stephen, I don't want to, throw stones at these lovely scientists, but it sounds to me like a cover story.
You wait till I get to some other unethical scientists. You hold that back, because it gets worse.
Well, OK, well, tell me
We're
more.
on the subject of unethical research. And basically, this was the only way you can have of being sure that you know what people are talking about with absolute clarity, because people change what they say when they know someone's listening, someone outside their circle. But the idea was to discover what the main subject was that people spoke about.
They just thought, they'll never look under the bed. Why would you look under a bed? There's nothing interesting down there.
Well, where they could overhear them. And they discovered that 40% of their conversation was devoted to...
The opposite sex.
No, it wasn't. It was themselves. It was a study in egocentricity. They spoke about themselves.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carr would never let that happen.
Oh, don't. That's the worst thing in the world you can do. So there are other dodgy experiments. There was a personal space invasion in the men's restroom, a study of 1976. Someone hid a camera under the partition, under the sort of floor
Someone,
space.
Stephen. Someone. You seem to know a lot lot about this, Stephen. I've got a couple of questions. You like technology, don't you? And there's a camera in the men's room. Oh, I'm just doing a study. Are you?
It was...
Apologise, Stephen.
It was to see how they filled space. If there was one person, let's say the third one in a row of 6, where would the average person go? Would it be as far away apart, or would that look too obvious?
It's very interesting when you go in there, because I used to be, I don't have it anymore, I don't know why it's gone, but I used to be quite a shy peer. You aware of shy peeing as a thing?
I have a technique for that.
What's your technique for shy peeing?
My technique for shy peeing is I think of the most embarrassing thing I can do. I just think of doing something like saying, I think I love you, or just something like that, and then it's all go.
When you say I love you, you automatically
Pee, have a little wee.
I don't need to say it, I just need to think it. And I always have to imagine it very, very realistically. I imagine the guy going, what, did he really say that? and then the next thing, it's just, you know, no longer a problem.
It is very maddening when you've been absolutely bursting to go and then, hello. Come on! Come on!
There's a story about Bono going into a men's room and standing up there, and the guy standing beside him, and long silence, and then eventually the guy saying, "Bit of stage fright, Bono."
But in 1942, and this is the one where you're going to go, yeah, right, a psychologist called Lawrence Lashan tried to use sleep learning at a summer camp to cure some boys of nail biting. He recorded the phrase, "My fingernails are terribly bitter," on a phonograph, and then played it 300 times a night in the boys' tent or room or whatever it was.
And they all went on to kill and kill again?
One boy appeared to respond positively, but then after 5 weeks, the phonograph broke. So to keep the experiment running, he stood in the boys' dormitory through the night and repeated the phrase himself. "My fingernails taste terribly bitter." This seemed to work, and he claimed it as a success. It's thought generally these days that the boys were awake and just freaked out by the experience. They stopped biting their nails to make the nasty man go away. It's all very peculiar. Anyway, moving on. How did the Romans tell their Keiths from their Kevins? Some Keiths and Kevins there, in case you don't know what they are.
Keith Richards.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Keegan.
Kevin Keegan.
Keith Lemon.
Well done, that's enough. That's all, you won't get any more.
The other ones don't look real.
No, they don't.
And they're the actual Romans.
Yes,
I think on the far left, that's Burger King, isn't it?
They couldn't, because in Latin they both mean the same.
No, it's not that. It doesn't have to be Keiths from Kevins. It means how did Romans know people's names?
They know people's names?
Yeah.
Did they,
because we all forget
remember them?
No, that's the point. They'd forgotten.
Badge. They had a badge.
No. You have a special servant.
A servant to say your name.
A nomenclator. No, not to say your name. I'm assuming you remember your own name. The point is when you forget other people's. So you come in and the person whispers Alan Davies, and you go, "Alan, how lovely to see you," because otherwise you've forgotten. That's the point. Like a politician. It's
very
useful. Yeah, it's absolutely right.
I have a technique for names.
Yeah.
If I've forgotten someone's name, I just say, "Excuse me" for a second, and then I go home. Every time.
You're the nomenclature,
Yes.
and you keep saying this is Steve.
Yeah.
This is Fiona.
Stevius,
Don't you,
Fiona.
after a while, you go, "I know that one."
Yes. You're allowed
Tell
to
me the
tell
ones
them.
I don't know. She now thinks I've forgotten her name. No, I just really thought I was in there. No, you've just gone, "It's Fiona." As if I didn't know it was. Look at her face now. He's going to go over there and say he knew. I was just doing my job. He wants you to know that he knew you were Fiona.
This
Is your wife, Susan? You've been married 15 years.
I actually do have a system involving my wife, which is we go over to someone whose name I don't know, and I just stand there in total silence, and then eventually my wife says, "I'm sorry, my name's Helen," and the guy says, "Oh, I'm Gary," and I go, "I'm sorry, this is Gary."
Gary,
Helen,
Gary.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just as soon as they say it, you go, "Ah, blah," and then you
Is
say
that a
it.
system per se? That sounds like you being awkward at a party.
So, moving on. A question about kiss and kin now. What's the best way of avoiding talking to your mother-in-law? Yes, Ken.
Removing her vocal cords with some pliers.
That's the best way of avoiding her talking to you.
Well, lean in for the kiss.
Oh! Oddly enough, you're in the right hideous area.
Really?
Charles's hair is being stealthily removed from his head by Camilla's hair-grabbing, hair-eating hat. She's operating it slyly with her hand. And the hair has been sucked into that hat.
She's looking down at the
hat
tile.
devours it.
Like, if you don't like your mother-in-law, what hope is there for you? I view the mother-in-law as it's Christmas future.
Yes, that's true.
If you don't like your mother-in-law, you're in all kinds of trouble 20 years down the line. That's what you're buying into.
My mother-in-law makes absolutely no sound when she moves.
It's remarkable. Like Jeeves.
She is the stealthiest person.
You've got a stealth mother-in-law.
Honestly,
Is she sprayed black?
She could be a brilliant spy, you know. You might be in a room and you're looking at a thing or something, and then suddenly she goes, hello, oh, here! Come from? Where did you come from? The wrong way from the door. Anybody would have gone, made a little noise. There's nothing.
Oh, that's terrible. It's like the famous story of the boy who was, you know, having a play with himself in his bedroom and with his eyes closed.
By the way, I was not playing the story before you conflate the mate and had a... What was that story on that thing where Alan Davies and his brother... Let's just separate those two things.
He closes his eyes in bliss, and when he opens them afterwards, he just finds a cup of tea next to him. It's so awkward.
She thought, well, your father always likes a cup of tea after.
And the biscuits. Oh, gracious. Oh. We haven't begun to answer this question yet. It's about sexual taboos with mothers-in-law, which you kind of...
Sexual taboos with mothers-in-law.
And there's these particular languages where you have a special language in which to speak to your mother-in-law. It's called an avoidance language. Oh. So you have your own... The natural language. I think we've got one of those, haven't we? It's called small talk. But that's... Yeah, it has a different vocabulary. It's absolutely different.
What, so a whole language where you can talk to your mother-in-law, so it's just safe subjects?
Yeah, you also have to avert the eyes and look at the ground, which is part of using that language. And there are certain words that don't exist in that language, most notably things like pubic hair and sweaty smells, because there is a taboo and a sense of respect that is given by the male to the mother of his wife. It's in Australia. There's some Aboriginal peoples who have these avoidance languages. And it's really fascinating, isn't it? I mean, in Japan, they have a special language when talking about the royal family, for example.
Is there a phrase for you've spilt the Tippex? Someone needs to address that.
Hey, you're so bad. You're so bad. Now, what did this bird bring to the German city of Klutz?
Chlamydia.
Chlamydia?
Chlamydia stalk. That sounds like a desperate man back from a business trip in Holland going, the thing is stalks.
Is that a particular, like, a giant stalk?
I'll show you a picture of it. It's been stuffed and is in a museum.
How big is it, really, then?
Well, it's hard to sell the scale, but stalks are quite big, but that's an arrow through it, or spear, rather. They call it an arrow in German, which is Pfeil, and it's known as the Pfeilstorch, which is just literally arrow stalk. Now, you may say, what's odd about that? Nothing particular. But what they recognised was that the arrow was not German. Indeed, it was not even European. So they recognised straight away that it was African. What on earth would a bird be doing with an African spear in its neck, they thought.
My God.
So they puzzled out the possibility that birds, rather than disappearing at winter...
Oh, went to Africa.
Yes, and
sorry,
migrated.
Are you saying it flew back with that?
Yes. It survived.
No way.
I know, yeah.
That was... no way.
Yes, it did.
It flew to Germany going, well, I'm never going back there. The worst holiday ever. I find that the survival of that bird, I find extraordinary.
It is, but you hear stories of bullets piercing people's heads without somehow managing to...
Not narrow, travelling the length of its neck.
Somehow managed
through its head.
I know, it is astounding that it flew.
Something's different.
Yeah.
Do you think it was originally from Germany, or it got kind of... It was from England, and somehow... Well, we're going right a bit.
It might have slightly tilted to the right. We don't know. It was in the 1820s. Anyway, until that time, people had observed birds disappearing, and they'd assumed all kinds of things, that they went underwater, that, you know, they changed into other animals. But there was no particular evidence anyway, except they disappeared. 1820. This was the first kind of clear evidence, as it were, that the bird had been to Africa. And so things began to get put together. Samuel Johnson wrote that swallows certainly sleep in the winter. A number of them conglobulate together by flying round and round, and then all in a heap throw themselves underwater and lie on the bed of the river. Well, that's what he thought, because swallows disappear in the winter, and he assumed they hibernated like other animals. So, moving on. Get this right, and you can have your weight in points.
Ooh.
I'd like you to add these numbers up. Look at the screen, add up the numbers.
Hang on, pen.
Oh.
So 999.
No.
431.
No. I'll let you have, which the winner of this competition did not have, the opportunity to see it again. All right, again, 2-second burst. Add that up.
I was about 897.
No. I mean, it would be astonishing if you got it, but in Japan, where else, they have this, it's called Flash Anza. And actually, the world record holder had a shorter time than that. You have to correctly add 15 three-digit numbers, and he did it in 1.7 seconds. Now, there's a particular reason Japanese people are very good at this.
I think I know the reason. It's in Malcolm Gladwell's book. It's because of how they process, how the language processes numbers. There is a strange thing in Chinese and Japanese, in both languages, with the number, if you say the numbers together, it automatically adds them up, sort of linguistically.
Yes, but there's a really interesting addition to that, which is that what they're doing, and their fingers are the giveaway, they do this. What do you think that is?
That is a living one of those.
Genius! He's a savant.
Oh, it's a herd of those.
The answer, incidentally, was 1,966. But the secret actually is in the Chinese-Japanese abacus. They're actually doing the action of the abacus. And the more amazing thing, perhaps, is that at the same time, they can have a conversation with someone. Because it's another part of the brain that's being engaged. And they'll say the answer, but they won't remember a single one of the numbers they added up. Which brings me to some very complicated adding up of my own, as a matter of fact. Oh, my gracious goodness heavens. The scores are unusual because we have, of course, been giving scores to make up for our errors on account of the half-life of facts. So, in last place, I'm afraid, it's magnificent for a first appearance. Minus 19, Graham Lennon! Graham, congratulations. In fourth place, with 23.24, it's the audience! Well done! And in third place, with...
behind the audience.
Yes, I'm afraid so. It's deeply unfair.
I'm on the show.
I'm so sorry. And in third place, with plus 33.58, is Jimmy Carr. In second place, with plus 85.73, Joe Brand. And today's out-and-out winner with 689.66 is Alan Davies. And so it's thank you and good night from Graham, Jimmy, Joe, Alan and me. Be useful and lovely to yourselves. Good night.
Stephen Fry out there taking a personal look at homophobia across the world, available now on BBC iPlayer. James Corden's picked the right man to have a comedy chat with. Graham Norton welcomes him as a guest over on BBC One in 5 minutes. Back here for later with Jules Holland at 11:05 and his extended bill of talents, including Suggs from Madness.